This is my numerology proving that I'm the best in numerology and the Bible. Proving the Alpha and the Omega of the last chapter of the Bible called Revelations. In all my life, people have tried to keep me down. People tried to, you know, keep me down my whole life and try to say outrageous things, like I'm with them, or I stand for the same things that they do, or something like that, like like I'm in society or something. It's crazy. They think they think just because I exist, I want something to do with them, but I don't. I don't want nothing to do with them. They think holding me back is, a way to prevent something, but they're only preventing good because I only stand for good. I don't stand for evil. I don't stand for, they're like trifling my life. You know, they said I couldn't be in my apartment. They said, "Oh, since you were homeless before, you know, when you're 17, you can't have a home. You don't know what it's like to have a home, so we're going to make all these laws and bullshit, but I've been doing it 19 years here in my apartment by myself. And these people with the chip on their shoulder thinking that they're better than the Alpha and the Omega. And these people that think that they get to say something about my life. They get to say something about, how I turned out, Most of it's PTSD. I don't like to have memories because people tried to blast me wherever I was at. They're like Columbine shooters, or like Hugh Sung Choi, trying to assassinate where I am at, with their words and their yelling and their loud voices. They don't care about the truth, which is what I am. They don't care about the 999 in numerology that proves the Omega, that proves the Aten and Amen Accord. The Aten and Amen Accord of the Egyptians 3,333 years ago during the reign of Amenhotep IV, who later on took on the name Akhenaten, which means the one that speaks to the Aten. This isn't make believe. This is real life. You know, they have the they have the Freemasons and all that. Like they they think they know more, but and they're a secret society that knows more about structure and all that, and all their planning against me and all that. I can see it. I'm smarter than them. Is what they don't get. They try to blast my eyes and blast my mouth. They're like putting a firecracker in my mouth and like saying you don't get to say that, you don't get to say that, and they're yelling at me, and then they're smacking my face around. But they're just bullshit artists. They don't care about the true reality of society, what needs to happen in order for the real people to exist. They care about their, mediocrity and their getting by, kissing the boot of the leftist swine that want to rape me with queer homosexual people and with, you know, evil feminism. It's all a way, all a plot to get one over on the God, the Alpha and the Omega. Jesus said there was two brothers. One of them went to their father and asked him for their inheritance, and the father gave him the inheritance, and that son went out and spent their inheritance on wild living. And the older brother that was always with him said, and then after the younger brother spent all the wild living and hookers and sinners and tax collectors, he came back to the father and said, I have sinned against you and against heaven. Please take me back. And the older brother said, all these years I've been enslaving for you, and you never even gave me a young goat to celebrate with my friends. I say that older brother has the right to be the devil, because he never got the reward of being the faithful servant towards God. I'm the devil. I'm the Antichrist that never got the reward of being an American. I should have had the cars I want. I should have had the watches I want. I should have had the vacations I want. But they want to split me like shredded beef. You know, like you take two forks and you shred the beef, you shred the pork, you shred the chicken, you know, to make barbecue shredded chicken. That's what they're doing to my life. They're taking me apart piece by piece and saying, oh, I signed them up for this, I signed them up for that. But they don't get it. I'm alone in my apartment, which means I have a safe space to circumvent what they're trying to do to me. I just make these videos as you ever seen that movie Mission to Mars or something like that? I don't know. It's got Matt Damon in it, and it's like he states how he's stuck on Mars, and he begins to grow potatoes and stuff like that, and he has his own video journal. Well, this is like my video journal of Earth and the hell that it's bringing upon me, you know, with all these woke, weird colored people with nose rings and, you know, like weird facial piercings that want to blast my safe space, you know, like, and homosexuals that want to, you know, interject into my life, interject into my privates. Well, I say, I've got a hammer, and I'm not afraid to use it. I'll smack him in the head. And if I ever become a murderer, come back to these videos and say, he was innocent. He was put to his last wit. You know, I have to think outside myself, because they won't let me have my own vessel out in my apartment because they're afraid of what I think. But keep in mind, I'm gonna start making more videos, so I haven't gotten very much traction on YouTube, you know. I'm the 999 in numerology, you know, my vowels, my consonants, and my whole equal 9, 9, and 9. And I'm the 9 sevens. You know, once upon a time, Jesus wanted to end the world, you know. He wants to end everybody with his revelation and turn my mind apart, you know. Turn down the walls of reality, you know. These are the terrorists. I say we stand up against Christianity and believe in the one that brings justice, the Andrew Clayton of justice, the Antichrist of justice, the Satan that does the punishing works of God. Because God is going to stand for, you know, them being critical of me when I'm trying to live my life, peaceful life, by myself in my apartment. I'm just a all-seeing eye, and they're sinning, and then they out of their mind, they attack me and say, oh, Andy does this, Andy does that, even though it's not true. You know, it's hard being a man in America. And it's even harder to be me in America. But I'm gonna keep on making these videos so you can know what's going on with me, you know, to my few followers out there. And please like and subscribe. You know, you have nothing to lose to believe in me, but you have everything to lose if you don't believe in me. Remember that today, people. You know, you can believe in the truth, and when I reach 100 subscribers, I'm gonna do a live stream, you know, my first live stream, and it's gonna be great, you know. But these people are too concerned about their wanting and what they need. They don't want me to smile, and they say, oh, he's got busted up teeth, he's got missing teeth, he's got, you know, they try to say I have, what they're trying to lie about me, you know, so they can work one over with the system, you know, the system with checks and balances, you know. And then they say, oh, I thought Andy didn't have busted teeth, you know. And this is a forthcoming, you know, every white person in America has a good banker, a Jew banker. Every white person in America has a Jew lawyer, you know. I have a Jew banker, but I don't have a Jew lawyer, you know. They attack me, you know, on a daily basis and never get right with the Lord, you know. I don't believe in Christianity, but I do believe in revelations. That means I still have morals. I don't believe in the seven-headed dragon. I don't believe in the the seven-eyed, seven-horned sheep that's gonna unravel the 7 plagues and all that bullshit. You know, I don't believe we're gonna be in worse times in the future. I believe we're gonna be in better times in the future. You know, there's not gonna be an end of the world and world war and all that bullshit. You know, they just do that to threaten my life and take away what I want, because, you know, I may be schizophrenic, but I have more sane thoughts than all these people put together, all these Christians and their evil thinking and their trying to petrify me and terrify me and steal from me, you know. But this is going to be the resonator. I'm going to keep this video going for a few more minutes so they can't know that they can't steal from me, you know. Let's see, I got 13 minutes on the clock. 13 and 30 seconds. You know, they cheat me and say what they want. They think they're a director in my movie, you know. They get to say what they want from my life, you know, but they're insane. They're terrorists. Their clone armies and their never-ending chances until they get what they want, you know. You know, they keep on doing the same thing until they get a different reaction. Well, I'm going to be hard-nosed and to the point that they don't ever get their way, because they're wrong. And I know that they're the decimator of wrong, which means that they're on a losing path. And I'm the decimator of, I get to say where I want my decimal point in life. And these people are the cowards, the losers, the ones that like losing, just so they can say, well, we lost. Here, let's pick up the pieces and Deal with it. But this is a resonator. I'm not going to lose to these Christians that want it their way with me.